To take a look at what's getting attention in the weekly magazines, our press reviewer Florence Villeneuve is here. Hello, Flo. Let's start with Jeune Afrique, focuses on what lies ahead for Algeria following last week's presidential election there.
That's right. Jeune Afrique wonders what is next, and there's a photo there of Abdelaziz Bouteflika, so elected for a fourth term with over 80% of the votes. So Jeune Afrique wonders what are the challenges that lie ahead for the Algerian president, and they have a very interesting editorial this week. And it's important to note that during the campaign, Jeune Afrique was actually quite critical of Bouteflika for running again since he's in pretty poor health. But their editorial this week speaks out against what they call Algeria bashing, especially coming from the West and especially coming from France. And Jeune Afrique lists a bunch of cliches in the press and tears them apart. For instance, one thing that we were hearing a lot was Bouteflika, the mummy, he's just a puppet for the military. Well, Jeune Afrique says Bouteflika, sure, he might be physically weak, but he's intellectually alert and he won't be manipulated. And Jeune Afrique also says Algeria is not a third world country run by a political mafia with a submissive population. So really speaking out against these cliches. Jeune Afrique does admit there are things to improve in Algeria. It's okay to criticize things, but you must do this in a constructive and objective way.
Okay, let's move here to France. Magazines are focusing on the release of 4 journalists from captivity in Syria.
That's right. You can see all sorts of photos of when they arrived in France, very touching photos of them arriving after those 10 months in captivity. You can see here, Paris Match, it says that the government never abandoned them. These journalists are the honor of France. And there's one photo in particular that you can see here inside Paris Match. This is really the moment when they were greeted by the president, François Hollande, here. In that photo, François Hollande is touching the cheek of one of the journalists. A lot of media were commenting on just how sweet this photo was. And a lot of the journalists since they're journalists, have been speaking out about their time in captivity. For instance, Nicolas Hénin, he's a journalist for Le Point, and he gives an in-depth account of their time in captivity. He says that during their 10 months, they were playthings for their jail keepers, men who have lost their humanity. A very, very horrifying article, but an interesting read.
And many of these men are back at work already. Staying with Le Point, an exclusive report about the new ecology minister here in France, Ségolène Royal.
That's right. She's a familiar face in French politics. You can read about this on lepoint.fr, so the website. They talk about the return of Calamity Ségolène. The Iron Lady is back. Le Point says she's running a very tight ship at the ecology minister. She's imposed a new code of conduct with some very strict rules. For instance, one rule is that women are no longer allowed to wear shirts with plunging necklines. This is according to Le Point, which also says that every time she walks into a room, she gets an aide to announce her arrival, and everybody in that room has to stand up. So Le Point says this is really a cold shower for the ministry, but it's important to note that Ségolène Royal has tweeted that this ban on plunging necklines is actually just a rumor, but as for the rest, she hasn't really said much about it.
Okay, so a new regime in place there. And Ségolène Royal is also on the front page of L'Express as well, but for different reasons.
That's right. Now, remember, she was the president's partner for a very long time. They had 4 children together, but she was just one of the women in Hollande's life. You can see the front page of L'Express. It talks about Hollande and his ladies. And so on the front page here, you can see Ségolène Royal, his former girlfriend, Valérie Trierweiler, and his alleged mistress, Julie Gaillet. Now, why are we talking about this week? Well, it's because a journalist from L'Express has written a book about the president's private life. It's, what is it called? It's called The President Who Wanted to Live His Lives, with an S, so plural lives. This is by a journalist named Élise Carlin. She says that it's a behind-the-scenes look at this state vaudeville. And L'Express actually publishes a lot of extracts from this book. It's quite juicy details. She says that Hollande and Valérie Trierweiler might be getting back together.
Okay, very finally, the NYPD in the spotlight for all the wrong reasons in social media.
That's right. You can read about it in The New Yorker this week. This is kind of a textbook Facebook case for things backfiring. The NYPD, so the New York Police Department, tried to launch a campaign on Twitter to improve its image. It's called #MyNYPD, and the idea was to get Twitter users to send photos of themselves with friendly police officers. But very quickly, people started sending other photos of the NYPD, and you can see one of these photos that's been going viral on Twitter right here. Basically, people are sending photos of what they say is police brutality. So a lot of media, including The New Yorker, are saying this is the case of a major hashtag fail.
Florence Villeneuve, thank you very much for that review of the weeklies here on France 24. And next up, it's a roundup of all your sports news. And it kicks off with